What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Random Album Reviews. This is the segment on my channel where I spin a wheel and it chooses a letter, and I select an album from my record collection of over 1,500 albums, and I discuss the record with you in detail. And I've been having a ton of fun with this, and I hope you guys have been enjoying it as much as I have. I thought this would be really fun because obviously I talk about movies nonstop, but music is such an enormous part of my life. And I thought that this would be a cool way for you guys to kind of understand what my music taste is and the kind of music that I enjoy. And what I've really liked so far, because I'm kind of randomizing this, is I've been able to pull a lot of albums from varying genres and talk about them in great detail. And that's what I love so much about this series. So as usual, up on the screen now, I've got the spinning wheel of the alphabet, and we are going to find out which letter of the alphabet we'll get for an album to choose from my record collection. And today, the wheel has landed on the letter D. So I am going to go to my albums, grab an artist that starts with the letter D, and we are going to talk about that album today. So I am back, and I wanted to choose something different today, a little bit different than what I've talked about previously. To talk about, and luckily enough I landed on the letter D, so I'm excited to talk about this album with you. And the album I'm going to talk to you about today is the album No Love Deep Web from the group Death Grips. And this is not the original cover art for the album. When they did the repress, they changed the cover art for the album, which I think is hilarious. If you get the opportunity to, you can go ahead and Google what the original album cover is, but this is just like a transparent vinyl. But Death Grips is a group that I have fallen in love with more and more over the years. They make such a unique style of music, and they are truly incredibly talented individuals. I was lucky enough to get to see them live in the past couple of years, put on one of the most high energy, compelling live performances that I've ever seen, and I'm really excited to tell you about this record today. So Death Grips is an experimental hip-hop group from Sacramento, California that consists of 3 members: MC Ride, who is their lead vocalist, and then you have Jack Hill, who's their drummer, and their keyboardist, Andy Marin. And they have existed for quite some time now. They've put out several records, and I love their discography very dearly. There are a ton of their albums that they've put out that I've absolutely adored, but the reason why I chose No Love Deep Web is because it is the first album that I heard in its entirety from Death Grips. And funny enough, when I was growing up and I was a young kid, I was very against rap. I was one of those super pretentious high school kids that only listened to like emo, alternative, classic rock, and no other genres existed to me in that time period. I wouldn't listen to anything else. And teenagers and young people go through that. And when I got into my 20s, and the older that I got, I started to grow a fondness and an appreciation for different styles of music. And I would say my mid-20s is when I really started listening to hip-hop of all different varieties. What I love so much about hip-hop and rap music in general is that it can be incredibly experimental. You can do virtually anything you want in that genre when it comes to sampling and like the way that you can layer music and beats and how you can write powerful lyricism and put it over top of these things. And a lot of my favorite hip hop artists are very experimental. And Death Grips is not hip hop and rap in a conventional sense. There are moments in Death Grips music that feel more like metal albums. They're very loud and chaotic and anxiety inducing in moments. And I think that it really does an amazing job at sort of capturing what our lead vocalist, lyricist, MC Ride is trying to convey. And that's what I love so much about their music. When I listened to No Love Deep Web the first time, the very first song that I ever heard off the record was the track No Love. And I was just completely and totally blown away by the raw aggressiveness of the instrumentals, like the drums, because Zach Hill is playing drums on these tracks. It's in your face and loud. And I remember seeing them live. The drums just kind of vibrate through your entire body, and just because of just how intense the snare hits are and the way that the drums kind of carry the music through. And listening to No Love the first time, I was really kind of taken aback by the way MC Ride writes his lyrics and just how powerful a lot of the lyricism is. It's very abstract and almost avant-garde. There's some things that he says that you'll just kind of roll your eyes like, what is he talking about? When you think about the lyrics though, broken down in like a larger way, there's a lot of really poignant societal commentary. I feel like there's a lot on the record, this album in particular, that kind of dives up into um, MC Ride's mental health and like the state of his brain, even from the first track, Come Up and Get Me. When you listen to the lyrics on that record and how kind of dark and saddening that they can be, it's just really interesting. And I think, metal music isn't that far removed from what Death Grips is doing, because metal, like, a lot of people are put off by that genre because of how aggressive it is and the screaming vocals, but it's a raw emotional state where someone can completely be totally transparent about their internal feelings. And I think that's the case with Death Grips music. I think there's a lot of really amazing moments on this album in particular that just kind of showcase what you can do with like a really intense instrumentation mixed with really insane vocal performances. And MC Ride has one of the most unique flows of a rapper that I've heard, because like he can really paint a picture with his lyrics, but he can also get very aggressive with his vocals where it almost feels like a metal vocalist. And that's what I like on this. Like if you listen to Come Up and Get Me or No Love, they have very aggressive vocal moments where MC Ride is literally screaming, but then they have like sort of pulled back moments on the record too, with songs like Pop where they're a little bit less in your face. And that's what I like about this, or even like Whammy. There's still some like hard hitting moments on that song, but it's a little bit more toned back. And there's some really great hooks on the record too, with like lyrics that'll get stuck up in your brain. But there's also some like longer, really thoughtful tracks. Like I love Artificial Death in the West. It's like lyrically that has some of the most wild lyrics on the entire record, but it's such a great album closer. And there's so many songs like Stockton, the lyrics to Stockton play in my head consistently. Hunger Games plays in my head consistently, and every song on this record, like there's some sort of segment that will just play through your head over and over again. And I feel like MC Ride and the group does such an amazing job kind of pulling you in and giving you those earworms on their record. And like I said, if there's one word I would use to describe their music, it's chaotic, but it's also like anxiety inducing, aggressive, thoughtful, and just really well put together. And I think No Love Deep Web, it's early in their career, but I think this is a perfect album that if you're unfamiliar with Death Grips music, is perfect for you to kind of like dip your toe in and see if it's something that you can appreciate. Because what I can tell you right now, Death Grips is not for everyone. Every single person is not going to enjoy Death Grips music because of what I said. It's raw, it's aggressive, it's in your face, and it's unrelenting is a really great word for it. I remember I have gone to hundreds and hundreds of concerts in my life. I go to probably 15 to 20 concerts a year, and I've been doing that since I was like 16 years old. Death Grips is probably the loudest, most aggressive concert that I've ever been to. And when I left the venue, my ears were ringing for like days after. And I have seen some like death metal bands live. I've seen some of the hardest, most aggressive, screaming forward music that you can imagine. And I've also seen Carly Rae Jepsen live. But Death Grips has put forth probably one of the most insane shows that I've ever seen. And their music really is an experience. And I think MC Ride is just a really phenomenal talent. I think that, he's trying to convey these really interesting messages. And I'd really convey you to read their lyrics because, like I said, there's some really wild stuff that he can say, but he also paints a picture that I think, like throughout their discography, can be very relevant politically and socially, and then kind of like self-reflecting. There's a song on this called World of Dogs that's really fascinating lyrically. And I just think like peeling apart those layers and listening to their music more and more over the years has really given me an idea of kind of what the identity of the band is, and like what they're trying to convey to you as a listener. And I just think they're brilliant. And I think if you're into hip hop music, this isn't going to necessarily be what you're used to, but I think there's something that you can find with this record that you will appreciate. And I think if you're a fan of like really experimental music that feels kind of like avant-garde and surreal, you'll really appreciate Death Grips. So have you heard No Love Deep Web from Death Grips? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I love this record. I listen to it probably once a week, and I just think it's absolutely amazing. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.